Hello and welcome to World News Midnight News Edition on All 24 News. I'm your host, Screenfast Zachary, and these are your headlines. Algeria commemorates the 61st anniversary of the demonstrations of October 17, 1961, one of the most heinous colonial massacres. The UN Security Council held a closed consultation session on the situation in Western Sahara in New York, followed by a briefing by the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara and the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara. The new Iraqi President Abdulatif Rashid called for the rapid formation of a government in Iraq and pledged to pursue balanced relations with neighboring countries when he took office on Monday. Also coming up, a series of explosions rocked Kiev on Monday, setting off air raid sirens 1 week after the Ukrainian capital suffered a series of damaging blasts. Hello again and welcome to the program Fast in Our News. Algeria commemorated on Monday the 61st anniversary of the demonstrations of October the 17th, 1961. The anniversary, one of the most heinous colonial massacre, where French police surpassed the peaceful demonstrations of Algerians in the streets of Paris and drowned them in the Seine River. Zara Ferjani reports.
61 years ago, specifically on Tuesday, known as Dark Tuesday, France committed one of the most prominent barbaric events in the history of the colonial powers of the 20th century. Algerians went out to demonstrate peacefully in protest against a discriminatory curfew, which was imposed by the then Paris police governor Maurice Papin, who was convicted in 1998 of committing crimes against humanity and was blindly oppressing the Algerians.
There was still a preparation between adults. They had to prepare because on such a day, a demonstration is planned, so everyone had to come. The children, the mothers, it was a must to join.
After imposing a curfew on Algerian workers, Maurice Papin ordered the police to crack down on the demonstrators, and he would cover them up.
French police had no mercy on us. They didn't care if they were women, men or children. They were tortured altogether.
I was going on a bus. I lived a bit far. I didn't know the road, but I was confused. People ascending and descending from the bus. They obviously were Algerians.
Despite the strict compliance with the orders of the National Liberation Front in France not to be drawn into the provocations of the French police forces, the latter insisted on transferring the daily violence they practiced against Algerian immigrants to a much higher level, turning a simple day from October 1961 into a crime against humanity. This day remains a day of honor, dignity, and challenge to raise the human conscience about the brutality of French colonizer and the combats of Algerians for the justness of their cause.
And in the same context, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, held on Monday a minute of silence at 11 a.m. and recited the Fatiha, or the opening chapter of the Holy Quran, in memory of the martyrs of the massacres of October 17, 1961. The ceremony took place at the Presidency building in the presence of advisors and executives of the Presidency. A minute of silence was also held on Monday at 11 a.m. throughout the national territory and the diplomatic and consular representations of Algeria abroad in memory of the Shuhada, or the martyrs of the massacre of October 17, 1961, and their presidential decree, signed by President Tebboune. All executives, civil servants, personnel and workers at central and local levels and at the level of diplomatic representations and consular officers abroad were invited to observe a minute of silence. The minute of silence was also observed at the headquarters of our channel, All 24 News, at the Exhibition Palace, La Safex, here in Algiers. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, sent a message on Monday on the occasion of the National Immigration Day, commemorating the 61st anniversary of the massacres of October 17, 1961. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Monday in Algiers the Secretary General of the Arab League, Mr. Ahmed Aboulghait. The meeting took place at the Presidency Building in the presence of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Mtala Mamra, and the Principal Private Secretary to the Presidency of the Republic, Mr. Abdelaziz Khalaf.
تشرفت ظهر اليوم بمقابلة سيادة الرئيس.
I was honored this afternoon to meet the President Abdelmajid Tebboune. I have to admit that he is a great person because the meeting was full of excitement and loyalty to the Arab world and the confirmed willingness to achieve the complete success of the summit, which will be held in few days. The President confirmed with me all what concerns the summit, and I know that he is aware of the preparations and he is willing to receive the Arab leaders when they arrive. The Algerian hospitality is noticeable. The summit indicates that it is going to be unifying. I congratulated the President for achieving the Palestinian unification, and we hope that the Palestinian side will stick to the unification and apply it with all its details, and we hope that they would be honest with themselves to defend the Palestinian future. My hope is that the next meetings of delegations and foreign ministers would end to complete agreement, which we can see now. Algeria will be celebrating the 1st and 2nd of November.
To a different development now, the UN Security Council held a closed consultation session on the situation in Western Sahara on Monday in New York, followed by a briefing by the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, Alexander Ivanko, and the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara, Mr. Stéphane de Mistura. These consultations come a few days before the end of the mandate of the United Nations mission for the organization of self-determination referendum in Western Sahara, where Mr. de Mistura will present his report on the situation in the occupied Saharan territories.
We direct our appeal to the Security Council in order to assume their responsibility in stressing on Morocco to fulfill its obligations through first setting a day for organizing a referendum. If Morocco does not adhere to this date, the Security Council must impose by force an end to the Moroccan occupation of parts of the Sahrawi Republic.
In a related matter, President of the Sahrawi Republic, Ibrahim Ghali, arrived at the Waterkloof Air Base in South Africa. Sahrawi President was welcomed by the Deputy Minister and Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. The Sahrawi President is on state visit from October 17th to October 21st and is scheduled to meet the South African President, Cyril Ramaphosa. The visit is to discuss relations of the two countries amidst the latest developments. And the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received on Sunday the Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Mr. Haytham El-Ghais. The audience took place at the headquarters of the Presidency of the Republic in the presence of the Director of Cabinet at the Presidency of the Republic, or the Principal Private Secretary to the Presidency, Mr. Abdelaziz Khalaf, and the Minister of Energy and Mines, Mr. Mohamed Arqab.
We have listened to the directives and advice of the President Abdelmajid Tebboune about the work for the OPEC, the unification and the organization, the importance of supporting the collective work in working for the organization, and the importance of the Algerian role in the OPEC. As you know, Algeria played a pivotal role even in this last agreement, which was held in 2016. In fact, the foundation of this agreement was from Algeria. In September 2016, I thanked the President of the Republic, as well as the Algerian team which works with us in the OPEC, for the support in Algerian role.
The Secretary General of the OPEC countries, Haytham Al-Ghais, emphasized that the cartel does not control oil prices, nor is it targeting any certain price, and moves to ensure market stability due to technical considerations away from political pressures.
We are not targeting certain price. There are fears over prices. On the contrary, the oil prices have been lowered after our meeting. I want to be honest with you. We're not the ones who control oil prices. There are other organizations who control goods, including oil, such as oil markets in New York and London and others. OPEC is not included in this field.
Still with the energy file, European Union leaders will discuss several alternatives for gas price limitations at the end of this week's meeting. The question of how, when and whether to cap gas prices is set to dominate the meeting. Sofian Kinturi.
European Union leaders meeting at the end of this week will explore a range of options for gas price caps, over which they have been divided for weeks. As Europe enters a winter of limited Russian gas, crisis in the cost of living, and perhaps even a recession, the 27 member states of the EU have been at odds for weeks over whether and how to impose a cap on gas prices.
We want to speed up the joint purchases and to use the purchasing power of the whole European or if you want, EU economy in order to get security in supplies for the next winter, which might be even more critical than this one. So the Commission was asked to speed up the works, and there is a clarity that, we will purchase the gas for the next winter together through the joint purchase platform.
As a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the sanctions imposed by the West on it, gas prices have skyrocketed, leading the majority of EU nations to call for a cap on gas prices, though they disagree on how it should be structured.
Energy prices are skyrocketing, but if you look over the last 7 months, you can see that Russia has deliberately and systematically cut the gas supply to the European Union. But we've been able to compensate. We've filled our storages by 90%.
Germany, Europe's largest gas market, is one of the nations that continues to be opposed. They contend that price caps could increase gas demand or make it difficult for countries to secure supplies from international markets.
The European Union is seeking concrete evidence for any Iranian involvement in Russia's war on Ukraine. The bloc's top diplomat Josep Borrell said on October 17th. And the video footage posted on social media showed drones buzzing over Kiev sky early on October 17th and smoke billowing as Ukraine said the capital and other regions were being targeted in fresh wave of airstrikes. Kiev has said that Russia is using Iranian-made unmanned aerial vehicles laden with explosives known as kamikaze drones to strike civilian and infrastructure targets inside Ukraine. And in a related matter, the EU has approved new sanctions targeting Iran's morality police as top diplomats gathered in Luxembourg. Also on the agenda was increased financial aid and military training for Ukraine. The European Union's top diplomats approved the launch of training mission for Ukrainian troops and also sanctioned a number of Iranian officials and institutions due to a crackdown on protests over the death of Gina Mahsa Amini in police custody.
We agreed on establishing an European Union military assistance mission to support the Ukrainian armed forces that will be happening in European Union soil. The training will take place in European Union soil, and the mission has a purpose. It's to train around 15,000 troops to start with, maybe more, but the first objective is to train 15,000 troops.
As a European Union, we are already having 4 sanction packages with regard to the Iran regime, and today we are making clear that we are taking those responsible who use brutal force against citizens, against women, against men, against teenagers, just because they want to live their life as we do in freedom and peace. And therefore we have a specific sanction package here at the Council, which I hope we will agree on all together today, to take those responsible who do not know any other answer than force against innocents.
And as a response, the Iranian Foreign Ministry cautioned the European governments that interference in the national affairs of Iran and their bid to impose fresh sanctions will draw Tehran's proportional reaction. Calling on Europe to avoid interventionist conducts, the spokesman said, quote, "If the European party is prepared for interaction, Iran will be ready as well. But if they opt for selective and interfering behaviors, Iran will show a reaction. Iran will act proportional to their measures." Unquote. To Palestine now. The Zionist occupation authorities announced on Sunday the imposition of a comprehensive closure on the West Bank and Gaza Strip. And earlier, the Palestinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has voiced concerns that occupying Israeli settler violence against Palestinian citizens has significantly increased in the past week in the occupied West Bank. It said the violence was characterized by its intensity, with shots fired at citizens, vehicles smashed, and access roads used by Palestinians blocked. Still in the Middle East, but this time to Iraq, the new Iraqi president, Abdel Latif Rashid, called for rapid formation of a government in Iraq and pledged to pursue balanced relations with neighboring countries when he took office on Monday. Just after his election by parliament on Thursday, the president instructed Mohammed Shia Sudani to form a government according to the constitution. The prime minister has 30 days to form his team.
We keep in mind what the dear Iraqi people expect from the new government, hoping that it will be formed quickly and that it will be strong, effective, and united.
To Russia-Ukraine file now. A series of explosions rocked Kiev on Monday, setting off air raid sirens 1 week after the Ukrainian capital suffered a series of damaging blasts. Witnesses said several missiles and even drones struck Kiev early in the morning. Other Ukrainian media reports also said that drones had hit an administrative building belonging to Ukrainian state-run energy company, Ukrenergo.
More than 200 apartments buildings destroyed from Russian attack. Were killed a lot of people, civilians, unguilty people. And that's why it's terror attack. And Russians is terror country. I'm more than sure. Do you see the unguilty people killed every day, not just in Kyiv, everywhere in Ukraine?
Britain's new finance minister announced a comprehensive retreat on the UK government's tax and spending plans on Monday in a frantic effort to calm jittery markets and restore the government's credibility. Osama Ayadi has more details.
Long debate has been provoked after the declaration of the newly elected Prime Minister of the UK, which revealed an unprecedented financial plan for the economic situation in UK and the tax rate. The meeting of the British Parliament on Monday has brought major changes and cancellations to the previously announced fiscal plan. UK Treasury Chief Jeremy Hunt on Monday told lawmakers that he was cancelling Truss's plan and most of her other liberation economic policies. Jeremy announced that tough decisions will be taken to restore confidence.
I want to be frank to make sure that I'm getting advice from fantastic institutions like the Treasury, the Bank of England and the Office for Budget Responsibility, but also advice that is independent of those institutions, because that is the way we'll get the best result.
In a message aimed squarely at reassuring the financial markets, Jeremy described the UK as a country that funds promises and pays debts. Such major policy announcements are normally made first in the House of Commons, but Hunt disclosed most of the details hours in advance in a televised statement.
Behind the decisions we take and the issues on which we vote are jobs families depend on, mortgages that have to be paid, savings for pensioners and businesses investing for the future. We are a country that funds our promises and pays our debts. And when that is questioned, as it has been, this government will take the difficult decisions necessary to ensure there is trust and confidence in our national finances.
Hunt was appointed Friday after Truss fired his predecessor, Kwasi Kwarteng, who spent less than 6 weeks in the Treasury job. Hunt is seeking to restore the Conservative government's credibility for sound fiscal policy after Truss and Kwarteng rushed out a plan for tax cuts without detailing how they would pay for them. Hunt's policy announcement could deliver a short-term relief rally, yet significant volatility is likely to persist, as far as analysts see it. The US President Joe Biden also said he was not the only one who thought British Prime Minister Liz Truss' original economic plan, which has led to a steep dive in the value of the pound, was a mistake. The EU's economy chief also said that there were lessons to learn from what is happening in the UK.
And for more international news that are still making headlines, let's follow this roundup by Islam Sid.
Brazil's former president and current presidential candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is holding a rally in Sao Paulo before the second round of elections. According to polls, Lula has 53% of the vote before the second round, against 47% for Bolsonaro. Ethiopian government forces and their allies on Monday captured Shire, one of the biggest cities in the northern region of Tigray, from regional forces they've been battling on and off since late 2020. Portugal is giving up coal to play its role in renewable energy, making it the fourth country in Europe to abandon this fossil energy. Portugal had closed its last fire power plant in November 2021. Argentine trade unions gathered at the Plaza de Mayo in Buenos Aires on the occasion of Loyalty Day, which marks the anniversary of the founding of Peronism. October 17th is a day when people flocked at the Plaza de Mayo in 1945 to demand the release of Juan Domingo Perón.
And finally in our news, the Real Madrid striker claimed his first golden ball in Paris on Monday after a remarkable 2021-2022 season for both club and country. Benzema's prize is thoroughly well-deserved after a 2021-2022 season that saw him cement his status as one of the best centre-forwards of his generation and a Real Madrid icon. He won 3 trophies over the course of the campaign, including a La Liga Champions League double, while he was also instrumental in France winning the UEFA Nations League.
Je repense à quand j'étais petit, tout le travail où j'ai jamais lâché. C'était un rêve de gamin comme tous les...
Karim Benzema!
Well, that's all we have for now. A reminder of our top stories. Algeria commemorates the 61st anniversary of the demonstrations of October 17, 1961, one of the most heinous colonial massacres. The UN Security Council held a closed consultation session on the situation in Western Sahara in New York, followed by a briefing by the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara and the personal envoy of the UN Secretary General for Western Sahara. The new Iraqi President Abdulatif Rashid called for the rapid formation of a government in Iraq and pledged to pursue balanced relations with neighboring countries when he took office on Monday. And a series of explosions rocked Kiev on Monday, setting off air raid sirens 1 week after the Ukrainian capital suffered a series of damaging blasts. Well, that's it we have for now. With this, our news comes to a close. And for more stories, don't forget to visit our social media platforms. That's it for me and the rest of the team here. Bye for now.